Welcome back to r/LegalAdvice, where people ask questions, get advice, and we get satisfaction. If you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, "My hedges were cut down by neighboring property struggling to figure out what to do in Oregon." This is in Oregon. I am mostly clear on the legal issues at stake, but I would really like the insight from anyone who has seen the aftermath of similar cases. I apologize in advance for the length and thank anyone who reads it. My brothers and I own 3 houses in a row. We planted hedges along the outer property line and landscaped to create an event space in the backyards. We only hold maybe a dozen weddings/events a year. We all have other careers, so this is a hobby of sorts and make a small income from. The land is ZR zoned and we have never had a complaint about noise or other issues in the 7 to 8 years we have been doing it. A couple years ago, the apartment complex that we share a property line with converted to condos. The new HOA asked us to cut our back hedge shorter to provide them with a better view of downtown. We politely refused. The treasurer of the HOA persisted in hassling us about it until we had enough. We had an attorney friend of mine recheck the zoning, codes, property lines, and sent a certified letter telling them to stop contacting us, citing the codes showing we are doing nothing wrong. The treasurer responded by hiring day laborers to cut the hedge down. He didn't get official approval from the rest of the board, he acted on his own. However, he did use HOA funds to do it. The police took a report and cited him, but told us that we would need to sue for the damages ourselves. I believe I understand what the law allows for, thanks to legal advice being part of my morning coffee routine, and we do have an attorney as this is outside small claims. This is what I am struggling with. Fairly calculating damages. We are furious about it, but don't intend to attempt to gain anything or punish anyone, but really want things to be put right again. We had a landscape architect come give us an estimate. The trees have to be replaced, they won't grow back. His estimate to make things back to how they were is a little over $200,000. This is for the trees, lighting that was broken, and an area of perennials that was destroyed. But we bought the hedge trees and planted them ourselves 15 years ago for maybe $10,000. We did almost all of the landscaping ourselves, buying plants here and there over the years. I have an idea how much they cost. A few $1,000s probably in the destroyed perennials. I replant the annuals every spring anyway, so I didn't have him include those. Since events are really a side project/part-time job, we make less than $15,000 to $20,000 a year or so from them. We all have much higher laying careers and don't rely on the money, but we do use it for a yearly family vacation. It feels strange to me to be demanding that amount of money when it was mostly time and work to make such an increase in value. My fears are that the condo owners will each end up having to pay something out of pocket. Even the treasurer, who I am beyond furious with, has a wife and small children who would suffer if he is the one charged with paying restitution. I am worried the people he hired to do the cutting would be found liable as well and lose everything they have. I have considered the fact the HOA likely has insurance that would cover liability, but I am considering who would they go after to recover that. The HOA has refused to return calls, so the attorney cannot get their insurance info. I am sure I am overthinking things, but I lose sleep over this. I just want to do the right thing. The attorney urges us to file for everything possible, even lost income for not being able to use the event space while being repaired, labor to replant the crushed gardens, everything. My brothers are not sure what to do and ask me to make the final decision. I almost decided to just ask for a smaller amount, get new, less expensive trees, stop having events for a few years and spend that time gardening to build a new space while the hedges grow again. But then I feel like I am cheating my brothers and myself out of what we are entitled to, or I get angry and upset because I really just liked how things were and what we did. I loved the time I spent with my brothers and I am really proud of what we built together. Then I get anxious and angry that I am even in this position to begin with. I know emotions should not play into it, but I cannot seem to extract one from the other. I really don't want to be an entitled a-hole, but I don't want to be a chump by going too far to be sympathetic. Does anyone have any insight to offer as to the probable consequences for everyone else affected? Please tell me if I am being ridiculous in either direction. I have never felt more confused about anything. Again, thank you to anyone who takes the time to read this. I try to be concise and will answer any questions you have. I appreciate any thoughts you might have. And in regards to, it feels strange to me to be demanding that amount of money when it was mostly time and work to make such an increase in value. A person in the comments said, I don't see it this way at all. Money has value over time and labor also has value. Your neighboring HOA destroyed a major large hedge cultivated into a desirable form, not the newly planted trees. Think about it this way, if I went to the Louvre and burned the Mona Lisa, they wouldn't just charge me with destroying a piece of canvas and some paints. Were you around when they were cutting the hedge? You should have called the police for trespassing. And guys, I'm wondering, what would you tell OP in this situation? Do you think OP is too sympathetic? And I gotta say, I was kind of surprised by the degree of empathy the OP has shown in regards to the people who cut down his hedge. Usually posts here on Legal Advice are much more angry than this. Let me know what you think about this story in the comments. Update to the hedge story. I have limits on what I am allowed to say due to settlement, but I had my lawyer proofread this. So it went very smoothly. Our litigator finally extracted the insurance information out of the HOA. They did identify the treasurer, and my attorney believes that the insurance company knew how screwed they were. They had meeting minutes etc. on top of their confession and criminal charges. Plus, yeah, treble damage would have applied in this case. However, the litigator felt if it went to jury, they would be unlikely to award the entire amount. It was resolved via negotiation and never went to court, although a suit was filed. We dropped it when we reached a negotiation. They originally offered a number higher than the one I initially felt worried about asking, and we settled on one that we didn't feel like we were gaming the system for full amount possible. Our intent was never to do anything but to get our hedge back. We absolutely have enough to have the hedge replaced, however, we cannot import mountain laurels at that height. We chose English laurels and new landscaping with seasonal flowers, including smaller mountain ones in the area where the wedding gazebo was. We were awarded money for lost business as well as the actual damage and repair based on what a jury would likely decide on. The landscape architect gave us an image of what it will look like, and it is beautiful. We will not be operating as a business in 2015, but by 2016 should be perfect. Since the climate here means yard work can be done year-round, we used some of our own funds to start, and this summer, since we are not operating, we are hosting a family reunion. Over a dozen cousins from back home already have a ticket. We are immigrant citizens and we are taking the vacation we usually take with our income from events. First event I wish I could hold is for everyone who helped and encouraged us. It was truly awful to be faced with losing what we had, and we were terrified not responsible people would be held liable. My post here and the advice made all the difference. The workers and homeowners were not involved, although I was told a flyer was passed out stating a large fine would be assessed on anyone who damages neighboring property. Someone, a relative of the treasurer apparently, was the one who actually hired the crew and why it was not questioned, and I don't know what happened with him legally because this never did end up in civil court. I don't care to know as we are not out for revenge. The treasurer pled to some stuff, but I don't care what, so I never checked. Oh, the wife and children live in the condo, but the now ex-treasurer does not. She brought me a nice little dogwood tree. I really never did blame her. My brothers and I are so happy. We are comfortable with the outcome and don't feel greedy or cheated. We are getting things back to what we wanted. It won't be the exact same, but it will be what we had. The exact tree species was not what we had. We had and have partially now and soon completely again the area and the experiences and events we had there. That was what we lived and are so happy to get back. Thank you all who posted and encouraged us, and tons of you who I got messages from since. I created this account for this as I am active in Reddit elsewhere and didn't want this in my history. Please know what a difference you all made. We probably would have decided to ask for the original price of the hedges and labor costs. Your stories and help mattered more than I can describe. So thank you all, it only took a few months. We signed the check today and then in a week we will pick it up, less attorney fees since they had to pay those, but they sending check. We are not suddenly crazy wealthy, but we are the happiest group of siblings you will meet this year. I don't know what else to say. I will check in over the next few days and answer questions if I am allowed. Part is the settlement is not to reveal some things. Thank you all from us all, sincerely. And guys, if you have watched until here, please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments and also like the video if you want to support me. Your help is very much appreciated and it helps my channel tremendously. Thank you so much for your support every day. I am very grateful to have such an amazing community, and now let's move on to the next story. And the next one is titled, Ohio, mother-in-law wants to have my child taken away due to me being abused as a child. So guys, as you can tell by the title, a little trigger warning on this story because it is quite heavy. My mother-in-law and I have not always seen eye to eye on how to raise my son. My wife and I have been united on how to raise our kid, but she knows best. The sub raised by narcissists would fit her well. Anyways, it started 2 weeks ago when she was at our house watching our son while the wife and I went out for dinner and a movie. Mother-in-law found a book that I've been reading about childhood abuse and how to recover from it. I was abused as a child by a daycare worker and I've been seeing a therapist about it and she has been wonderful in helping me. Up to this point, only 4 people know this has happened to me. My wife, mother, therapist and my best friend. Now my mother-in-law knows and has been telling everyone on her side of the family to keep me away from their kids. Some of the family members have stated that they do not want us around anymore, others have reached out or called us in support. It ended up being the ones we liked supported us and the ones we did not like did not support us, so no love lost there. The past week has also been a legal nightmare because the mother-in-law also called CPS to report that I might be abusing my son since I was abused myself. CPS has visited my house asking to come in. I have told them no, they cannot come in my house without a warrant and to come back when they had one. I called a lawyer that deals with this. My mom had his number from 20 years ago, story to follow. Since then, CPS has knocked on the doors of my neighbors and asked about how I was treating my son. I know this because I work from home and could see her going door to door, and one of the neighbors asked what was going on and why they were asking. I have very little faith in CPS as a teacher thought my dad was abusing me when I was younger and called them into school to do an interview. I had a black eye from wrestling practice. The CPS worker asked if my dad was abusing me and I just started crying. She took that as an admission of guilt that I was being abused. What I could not tell them was, because I was crying, was that my dad had died 3 weeks earlier, but luckily the principal was in the room and was able to tell her that there is no way he could have done that as he's dead, and the focus then shifted to my mother. It was a long week, but we got through it and were cleared as the coach and the person that gave me the black eye had given statements. My wife and I now want to exclude the mother-in-law from ever seeing our son again as she has breached our trust. I don't have a lot of money to pay this lawyer for a drawn-out battle with CPS. Is there a way to legally say my mother-in-law cannot and will not have access to our son if we are living or dead? Side note question, what are the odds of a prosecutor taking on a case that happened such a long time ago, 20 plus years, but within the statute of limitations in Ohio? What I have read is not really promising. Thank you in advance for your help. And a user in the comments said, with regard to limiting your mother-in-law's access to your child while you are living, cut her out. And if you reduce her relationship with you, both as well as with your children, then you are laying the foundation for someone else, in other words your parents, siblings, etc., to have a much stronger position to pull from if you and your partner both pass. In the short term, keep your kids away from mother-in-law as much as possible, don't allow her to create any sort of relationship with them, and do your best to keep her out of your lives entirely. If you are ever tempted to forgive and forget, then read this post again to remind yourself of why you went no contact in the first place. Also, CPS have changed a lot in 20 years. If your house is neat, your kids are happy, and there's food in the refrigerator/cupboards, they are usually happy to just go on their way. One call will not make them put your kids straight into foster care. But you can also inform the CPS person that the reporter is vindictive and does not have your children's best interests at heart. If your mother-in-law tries to make further reports, she can actually get herself into serious trouble for knowingly making a false report. Wow guys, and I gotta say, this mother-in-law is absolutely out of control, and in my opinion, it is one of the worst mother-in-laws we have heard about in recent times. What would you suggest OP to do if you were in her, or his, actually I'm not sure, situation? I suppose it should be possible to get a restraining order, but let's see what the update says. Update to the mother-in-law story. I wanted to give an update for everyone going into the weekend. This is a good update. My lawyer and I spoke to the CPS rep and provided all of my son's medical records and showed every time he went to the doctor, urgent care, etc. CPS also did a walk through the house with the lawyer present, and overall the visit went really well. The agent found a few small places for improvement, but nothing that was of concern. About 2 weeks after the visit, 1 week ago, I got another visit from the same CPS agent saying that more accusations have been made against me and my wife this time and that they have to investigate again. I asked if the accuser was my mother-in-law and they could not confirm who made the accusation, but my wife called her mother and she did confirm that it was her mother that had made the call again. My wife was on the phone with my mother-in-law while the CPS agent was in the house. I had my wife put her on speakerphone so the CPS agent could hear both sides of the conversation. My wife then asked, "Why are you making false statements to the police and CPS?" My mother-in-law's response was that since I was abused as a child, I was 100% going to do it to my son and she wants to protect him. My wife then asked a very pointed question of, "So you lied to the police and to CPS to further your agenda against my husband?" The mother-in-law's response was,
"Yes, I lied, but it was for the child's name safety."
At that point, the CPS agent had heard enough, filled out some forms and left. My wife and I were beyond mad about how brazen the mother-in-law has been acting. I ended up getting a call from the CPS agent and she told me that she had relayed the details of the conversation to my local police department since mother-in-law had called them to make a report. She said to speak to Detective Bob, not his real name. I reached out to Detective Bob and sat down with him, my wife and the lawyer. We ended up filing a report about the false accusations. The good thing in my city is that the police take a no-nonsense approach to false accusations and will go after people that do make them. The police did interview my mother-in-law and she did admit to making false statements and lying to police about the report. She has now been charged with falsifying a police report and making one other charge that I forgot at the moment, but she's been charged. On a side note, Detective Bob was very supportive of me when he found out that the reason why my mother-in-law was making the reports was due to me being abused as a child. He provided phone numbers for help and even brought in a counselor if I needed to talk to one. I was very surprised of how he treated me with respect throughout the whole process. My wife and I have also sat down with an estate lawyer and completely written her out of our life and stated that she's not to have custody of our son. We listed other family members to take care of our son if we both die, and the other members have agreed to do this. We have also decided to file a small claims court case against the mother-in-law for lawyer fees that we had to pay to cover ourselves. The lawyer did agree to keep the fees to the maximum for small claims in Ohio. Thank you everyone for your help and support. And guys, unfortunately, we have already reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories, and if you haven't already, please also go to patreon.com/ripeyoutube, where I upload exclusive Reddit videos starting at just $3 a month. This is a great way to support me in case you are interested, and the chance for me to become independent from YouTube revenue. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.